Hi everyone, this is Maria here, your social worker and parent coach. And I got a lot of great feedback a couple weeks ago on a video I did giving a real life example. So I wanted to give you another example today because thankfully I have many of them. The other night we came home from school and my daughter had homework to do. And it was some math assignment having to do with subtraction. And she had a really difficult time, such a difficult time that she was frustrated, she was angry at me, she was banging on the counter, and she walked away. And I said, fine, not a big deal, we'll get to it later, or I figured I'd let her teacher know that she was having a tough time. So anyway, then I made dinner and called the girls down for dinner, and my daughter, who had the homework to do, wanted to sit by herself. And she said, I want to sit by myself. So I said, fine. Okay. So I set up her plate and everything at a counter near us and let her go about it. And my younger one said, hey, what's the matter with her? Like, is she mad at me? And I said, no, I think she's actually mad at both of us. And I pretty much knew what the story was. She was mad about homework or whatever, but I didn't want to get into it. And I figured, let me give her space. And so I let her have her seat where she wanted, and the younger one and I had dinner, and the older one pouted for a little bit. But then when I said, I'm sorry the windows are open, it's such a beautiful day, I just had to keep them open, so sorry for that distraction. But anyway, I said, oh no, she's mad at both of us. And the older one said, actually, I'm not mad at you guys. I'm just frustrated with myself because I don't know how to do my homework. Wow, that was amazing. So on one hand, I was like, okay, you're still treating us like garbage, but the whole thing is what I've mentioned before is children behave in certain ways, they tantrum in certain ways because they don't know how to communicate. So earlier, she was so flooded with frustration when she was trying to do her homework that she couldn't say, I am so angry, I don't want to do this homework, or whatever it was, I don't know. And it wasn't until later that she was able to, in an amazing way for a 6.5-year-old, to say, I'm actually not mad at you. I'm frustrated with myself because I can't do my homework. And that makes sense, right? I understood her at that point. But it was only because I allowed her some space that she was able to, come to that situation on her own. It could have escalated in so many different ways had I, I wrote down a couple notes. We as parents have our own agenda of how we want things to go. I make dinner and I expect you to sit at the table and eat dinner as a family together. Well, that's my agenda. There's really no reason why we can't stray from that every now and again. This does not need to be a boundary that I hold in stone and say there is no budging from this. So thank goodness I was able to say, okay, this is a boundary I'm flexible with. I'll let you sit where you want to sit. Because what I was doing in that moment was letting go of my agenda, letting go of my need to control the situation, and allowing her needs at that moment to take over, which is fine. I can't always, quote unquote, give in or be flexible with boundaries, but in this moment I was able to. And so I was able to, like I said, let go of my agenda and just focus on her needs. And at that moment, her need was sitting separate from her sister and I. So that was one thing that worked really well as far as making sure this didn't escalate into something else. The other thing is, of course, the breath. I talk about the breath all the time. I can't tell you how many times I breathed that night because I was, trying to get dinner on the table, and I think all of us know what that's like. We get home from after school activities and we're rush, trying to get homework done, trying to get dinner on the table, trying to get them bathed and ready for bed and all the nonsense that comes in between that. So, of course, I was feeling stressed, but my breath really reminded me to take a minute. It created some space, which then created opportunity for me to think about, hey, what else can I do in this situation? The other thing is I didn't react to the situation with fear that, oh my goodness, she's speaking terribly to me. What is she going to grow up to be like? I didn't react with fear like, oh my goodness, she's not going to eat her dinner. What's going to happen? She's going to go to bed hungry. A lot of us react with fear. Instead, I responded with compassion. And that's what she needed. I couldn't push too hard, but she needed to know, I'm here for you. I'm here. So after she said, I'm actually not mad at you, I'm frustrated with myself, all I said to her was, I understand. That's all I said. And then she said, you know what, I want to come back and sit with you guys. I didn't push that. I didn't tell her what to do. I would have been fine if we continued the rest of the dinner with her sitting at one counter and me and her sister at another. But I gave her that room to express herself in whichever way she needed to work through that process. And because of some skill building that I've used, over the years, she was able to verbalize what her needs were. So, giving them the opportunity giving her the opportunity was important. And like I said, responding with compassion instead of reacting with fear is a huge thing. A lot of times our reactions are knee-jerk reactions, and because it comes from a place of fear, and we have to do that like fight or flight response. We either need to like get out of there or fight back and attack our kids, which is not really the best approach if we want to create an environment of honest communication. So I'm glad I was able to do that in that moment. I'll tell you what, I don't always do that. Sometimes I do respond or react in a way that isn't helpful. But I was really proud of that moment, both on my part, but also on her part, that these skills that we give our children now, they might not work day to day, but with enough practice and modeling, role modeling, and examples that I give to my children that shows what, expressing your feelings should look like and can look like in a healthy and safe way, those things work. So it just takes some patience on our part to trust that our children will, quote unquote, do the right thing. But those are just, that's just one example I wanted to share with you, that my agenda did not take over. It was really me focusing on her needs. The breath that I took that created that space, which created the opportunity for me to look at the situation from a different perspective. Recognizing that this behavior was her form of communication. The way she was tantruming and, mouthing off to us was her way at the time of communicating what her needs were. She had a need, and her need was, I need someone to help me feel like I'm not so stupid because I can't get my homework done. And the final thing is reacting with compassion responding with compassion instead of reacting with fear. So I hope those things are helpful. I hope this example was helpful. I would love to hear from you. If there has been a time that you saw a behavior and you knew that behavior was really your child's way of expressing themselves, communicating, and whether you handled it the way you wished you would have handled it, or maybe you handled it the way you didn't, really want to handle it, please post it, send me a message. I love hearing from you, and I love being able to share some of what you share with me with others, because it's helpful to know that we're not alone in this parenting thing. So just want to let you know that. Love to hear from you. Of course, follow me on Facebook. Check out my website. I'm now on Instagram, so that's another way you can hear from me. Anyway, enjoy this beautiful day. Take care.